This is CNN Breaking News.
Well, it is Singles Day in China, the busiest day for online shopping in the world. Singles Day started as a sort of anti-Valentine's Day, giving single people a chance to spoil themselves.
For $9 billion in a day? That's just incredible.
Of consumers buying products and reselling products, or individuals setting up their own storefronts on Taobao.
And they record all those sales in that day, so they sort of...
It took a major effort for China to achieve its economic success just 3 decades ago.
Every family has its own way of celebrating the Lunar New Year, but they do have one thing in common. Families will spend a lot during this golden shopping moment.
The idea of Singles Day was first proposed by students from Nanjing University in 1993. It was not until the recent 5 years that Singles Day is associated with shopping by e-commerce companies. In contrast to the new festival, traditional festivals in China are getting less and less attention. Are we losing our festival culture? What are the possible reasons for it? Let's first hear about what people say.
请问您知道双十一吗？
那必须知道，双十一是一个购物的节日嘛。当然知道。我觉得这种节日还是不错的。首先，它可以拉动我们国内GDP 的增长，其次，消费者也能从中得到一些实惠吧。我觉得是一个好事，给自己诸多消费热点的产生。
When I came here and I found out about Singles Day here in China, I thought it was quite exciting.
好的，为什么？因为买东西便宜。
那你知道有个中国的传统节日叫寒食节吗？
寒食节好像听说过，但具体是什么我不清楚。
有印象，但不知道具体做什么。
In fact, many people have the same answer when they are encountered with the questions about some traditional festivals. They thought that they knew the name, but the content of those festivals are totally forgotten by them. So as we can see, people forgot some old festivals while some new consumer festivals are emerging. It seems to us that traditional festivals are continually changing, and let's just see what others think about this.
So when I was a child in the 1970s, Christmas was a time when we would buy each other presents. But the presents, I think, were not so expensive. I think there's a lot more emphasis on more expensive presents, like electronics.
The big change in holidays in the United States has been the drive for commercial opportunities.
最近几年都是来到城市，就长辈来到城市，然后感觉气氛就特别冷清，然后就吃完饭看个春节联欢晚会就这样结束了，感觉跟平时没有太多的区别。
Like when I see that it's President's Day in America, I'm like, oh my God, yes, there's no school. But I don't really remember what the original holiday was. It was just to celebrate the birthday of like some of the more important people in our country who did something to get that holiday.
I think now we have a less and less flavor about our traditional festival.
Now it is clear that this is actually a global phenomenon, where festivals are not only changing but also weakened nowadays. People forgot many meaningful contents about festivals. And it seems to us that people are becoming more and more cold about those traditional festivals. Another obvious phenomenon that we can see is that festivals are commercialized, and consumptions during the festival now are becoming more and more important. It makes us to think about a question: why does this phenomenon happen? Is it because of advertisement? Is it because of environment? Or is it just something rooted in human nature?
Some companies or producers are playing tricks on consumers.
The act of going somewhere, seeing something that's considered traditional and buying that and then going back to where you're from, that experience, even if that item was made in the same place you're going to, you're coming from, it's that experience itself is what you're selling.
I think Spring Festival, it was always about buying new stuff because that's kind of a tradition, but right now it's kind of becoming more and more towards this consumerism thing. Especially when it comes to, the night we welcome the money god. The firecrackers be noisy all night. So that's kind of a reflection of how consumerism has gone into our spring festival.
Well, I think it was always a part of the festival culture. Certainly by the time I was a child and celebrating Christmas, consumption was already a part of it, but I think it's definitely gotten a lot bigger part.
But again, I don't think the issue is tradition versus novelty. Either is fine if they suit the group of people doing it. I think the real question is, how much space are you carving out for social interactions separate from commercial opportunity?
So, how much should social interactions separate from commercial opportunities? It is quite interesting that from our interviews, we can reach an agreement that consumption is always a part of culture. But there is a global trend that it is becoming a bigger part. Yes, cultures are always changing. However, our cultures are changing too fast.
If all these festivals, it's become a symbol of the shopping, it's lost its original meaning. Maybe at the beginning, the people will be interested because it's a new idea. But for the long term, for the long run, I don't think that will be sustainable.
I'm not a conservative. I believe in change, and I think that people should be allowed to shape the culture that they're living in. So I'm not really arguing that we should go back to some different or some older conception of what these holidays should be, but I think we should think about what the holidays mean to us and express that meaning in a way that's contemporary and feels right for us. But I think that we are influenced by big companies and by the capitalist culture that we live in to primarily focus on the commercial aspects of those holidays.
I've talked to my grandparents and uncles and aunts and my parents about how they feel about Christmas, and I guess for people our age, we love Christmas a lot because we love spending a lot of time with our families and we get a lot of gifts. But for the parents, on the parents' side, they don't really like Christmas because it becomes sort of a hectic obligation to find things for people, and in that sense, the cultural essence of it is taken away because of consumerism.
Culture, I think, will always be there, regardless of consumerism. I think just the way that we interpret it and view it is what's going to change.
What happens to societies as they get richer is they get less homogenous, right? They get less the same. Poor societies tend to have a much stronger set of traditions, in part because they just have less room for individual expression, and in part because they just have fewer resources for people to do different things. So as societies get richer, you lose the kind of traditional aspects of a lot of these celebrations. And then new traditions get invented, like traveling at the holidays instead of going home at the holidays.
This is what we saw on Mother's Day. As usual, it became a day for shopping. Cell phones, watches, bags. For the companies, it was just a normal promotion. We don't think mothers really care about the gifts. They want to hear our voices. For us students, our money is given by parents. It's like saying, "Hey mom, I bought you an expensive gift. Used your money." How ridiculous it is.
I have 2 children, and like children everywhere, they are influenced by the advertising and the marketing that they see around them. So they maybe ask for things that they see advertised, and that's fine. It's part of growing up, and I certainly want them to have toys and electronics up to a certain point. But I think by my own example, when they ask me what I want for Christmas, for example, I would say, I I want you to make me something, or I want you to cook me something special. So I would, love to have something handmade that takes time and thought and care rather than something expensive. People who feel that the original meaning of the holiday is being lost should express that and suggest other ways that we can recapture the meaning, the original meaning of those holidays, and try to convince people. That's in general how I think cultural change should happen.
我觉得送礼物不很重要吗？我宁愿出来和朋友一起玩吧。
The spiritual sometimes is much more powerful. It's more enjoyable than the material. I still think that our young generation needed to read more books, have more reading, to understand deeply about our own traditional culture.
The fact that we are now becoming a much more connected world and that we are able to access each other's information better is a good thing. And in order to maintain that balance between keeping traditions alive and moving forward with our own paths towards the future, we would have to keep those lines of communication open.
Consumption. Even though being part of current traditional festivals, when festivals becomes a symbol of shopping, it lost its original meaning. Consumerism is destined to cause a negative effect on festivals in the long run. Indeed, people have the right to shape the holidays, but before that, we need to think thoroughly about what holidays means to us, and are those commercial aspects really of that importance? Regardless of consumerism, the culture will always be there. What can we do? To read more books to understand the culture better. The spiritual are sometimes more enjoyable than material. When we are exchanging gifts for traditional festivals, what truly matters is the handmade that take time and thought and care instead of being expensive. In an interconnected world, in order to maintain the balance between keeping the tradition and moving forward, we should always keep the communication open. Consumerism is never the source of true happiness. It's only a temporary illusion, a construction of perception. If it's deeply rooted, we dig it out. If it's flying high, we shoot it down. To fight against consumerism, there's still a long way to go. But we believe, if we keep going, we'll witness the miracle.